Yes.
You actually brought a video to our group chat about, you know, China.
The Chinese manufacturers,
Yeah.
the TikTokers that
Yeah.
are coming out and claiming that their warehouse is where a lot of the luxury brands are actually manufacturing their products.
Yeah.
So there were a couple of videos that I saw.
Yeah.
With, you know, Chinese manufacturers, and I'm sure you guys have seen it. They're all over social media. And I was very interested in it because, you know, I come from the days of the 80s on Delancey Street where you saw the bags on the floor.
They're still like that.
And you look and you're kind of like, let me backstep a little. Let me see that bag right there. You know, you might not buy it. You don't want to buy the counterfeit bag, but it looks so real. You're like, let me see that. Let me see that Louis, that LV.
By the way,
that Louis Vuitton. Let me see that
by
right
the way,
there.
if you go to Chinatown, they still have them.
Right. So, like, I mean, I just remember it from back in the day because when I was in, you know, grammar school, high school, I couldn't afford, you know, a Gucci bag. I couldn't afford that stuff. I didn't have a job. I was in school. So I'm looking at on Delancey Street and I'm pulling it up and I'm looking on the inside and it sure does look legit.
By the way, a lot of rich people come to New York and do buy the counterfeit bags.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
What's interesting about what you're saying, 2 points I want to make. Christian Dior was fined millions of dollars. There's a big lawsuit with Christian Dior, I recall a couple of years ago, because they were getting cheap product and marking it up, and they got a big fine for doing that.
Wow.
But Hermes came out and did say that, you know, a lot of those videos aren't real.
Right.
And that they use handcraft people in Italy to do it. But I will tell you this. In my Instagram DMs, all the time, I get...
You get that?
I get that like,
hey,
I got the Hermes, and, you know, and they do come from China, and
they sure look real.
Yeah, but...
They look real.
But, I mean, some of them do look real, but if you are a true bag connoisseur, like, you really, really know.
Right.
Like, there's some people that really don't care and will do the counterfeit one, but you're
not getting the counterfeit to fool yourself. Right? You're getting the counterfeit, you know, from afar. Somebody, you know, especially if they don't think that you're going to have it. Like,
would you be okay rocking a counterfeit?
Now, after those videos came out, I'm considering, you know, because when the video first came out and they had the Hermes and they were like, you know, it only cost, you know, they're selling this bag for 25 grand. And it only costs $1,500 to make. I thought about that, and I was like, even if that video isn't real, right? We know the markup on the brand name is insane.
Oh yeah.
So basically, you're telling me that there's something in me that is paying for clout, for people to see that I have the brand name. I have the money to buy this bag. And that spoke to me. And I was like, I never had a counterfeit like that in my adult life. But I'm like, if I did, like, why not?
But
like,
that's why.
Let me get the $1,500 bag. It's the same material, the same lining, the same leather. Yeah.
But that's why
crazy.
Luxury was invented, is to really show. Luxury is to be like, I have this. Look at me. That's why luxury.
I can afford this.
Yeah.
It's different for me now as I get older because when I get a lump sum of money, right, I want to do things like fix my house, do this. I don't know. So I don't have the same desire that I did, right, kind of coming up when you're on the scene and you're like having to rock certain brand names. But when you see a video like the TikToks that are going around, and you really think about, like, what are you spending your money on? And the economy is suffering, right? You're like, wait a minute. Why would I pay 20 grand on, you know, upwards of what something is worth for the name?
Yeah.
I don't know. So for me, those videos really spoke to me. I was like, this is such an interesting thing. And especially to see the luxury brands come out and respond so quickly. No.
Yeah.
Like they were ruffled.
Yeah.
They were really uncomfortable.
Well, the luxury market is suffering right now because they did do a lot of, like, Louis Vuitton markup is crazy. Chanel markup is insane right now. Chanel marked the cost of Chanel right now. You might as well buy a Birkin. A Chanel bag, you might as well spend your money and buy a Birkin because the resale on the Birkins is crazy. Like the Birkins hold their value. I will say they're an investment, and you could resell them because my bags I test the market to see kind of
you put them out to see like
what I can get from them. But it's like I'm a firm believer in, listen, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
I have a friend who was selling a bag. You know, she came up on hard times and she was selling a bag, and she couldn't sell it because no one wanted to pay for it.
It was a Birkin?
It wasn't a Birkin. What was the bag? It wasn't a Birkin, but it was like a very expensive brand. I forgot which one it was. And I remember just kind of like that she could not get it off, right? And that to me is like, if you do come up on hard times and you got to sell it. Imagine you come up on hard times and it's like, anybody want to get this Birkin? Like, I need this 50 grand right now. Like, come on.
No, it's not like that.
This is insane, though.
Kim,
I mean, the conversation, it's as an adult, the conversation is crazy to me because what are we really paying for, right? What are we really spending our money on in this economy, right? I get it. I have always been in love with flossing. I have, right? But when you come up on some things, you have to start thinking like, well, damn, you know what? You know what's funny? I lost my Prada glasses in the movie theater a couple weeks ago. The amount of stress that I had for the 3 hours after because someone swiped my Prada glasses, right? And I literally remember I had put them on the seat. So I walked out of the movie theater. I went to the bathroom. I ran. I was like to my kids, I'm like, my sunglasses are in the chair, right? All my kids ran back. We done lifted up the movie seats. We were going crazy. We talked to the management if anyone returns. I was so stressed out over the glasses, right? Because they're sunglasses that I paid like, I don't know, $450, $500 for. And I'm like, they're gone. I could have just got a pair of cheap ass sunglasses that look the same. Who's really gonna tell?
But I think what you're talking about is more a priority, and then, you know, I think the point you're making is like, know your tax bracket and your priorities, right? Like you're at a phase where it's like you no longer care about what people think about you or what you're wearing or what you have on, and
doesn't mean I don't like nice things,
right?
Yeah,
right. But you're basically talking about prioritizing, right? Because there are some people that will spend their rent money on an iPhone 16 just to have the latest iPhone, right? So it's like, is that a priority, right? Like, what is your priority? Some folks will spend their whole income tax check buying a Louis bag. Is that a priority? It's really about what you're prioritizing.
But I will say, especially in one of the videos, there was a Lululemon reference, right? And they're talking about this manufacturer in China, OEM, right? I'm like, I want to go to the warehouse.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you get these Lululemons, you know, for $5 to $6. I'm like, $5 to $6? You know, I swear by Lululemon because of the material. And I'm like, oh, okay, I like the way it fits, all of that. But I'm like, imagine, I want to fly to China, go to the factory and see what they got in there.
Well,
I want to rack up.
So when you talk about what's happening with the tariffs right now, right? This trade war that's happening right now with Trump and China and things like that. See, a lot of manufacturers go to China because it's cheap labor, right?
Cheap labor.
So we're the biggest consumption of outsourcing that labor.
Right.
So the trade wars and everything going on, your products are now going to be taxed higher. Even think about hair extensions, think about wigs and all the money that you spend on beauty. That a lot of that comes from China. It comes from China. So when you think about like where you're going to see a lot of expenses. Now, Trump is trying to make it so that a lot of these manufacturers come to the U.S., but the labor is more expensive, right?
And don't nobody in the U.S. want to be putting together no hair extensions or doing any of these things that, you know, that the manufacturers are doing in China.
And for the price point that they do them at, which is why a lot of people go to China to get these things massively produced.
Right.
And if you're talking about factories coming back to the U.S., you're not getting those factories here overnight. The Louis Vuitton factory that just came recently, and they're struggling to find workers.
Not to mention the precision that goes into it over in China. Like, that's going to take years
They're struggling
to build.
to find workers to the Louis Vuitton factory they bought over here. And not to mention the farmers, right? When he did this mass deportation and immigration and ICE and this and that, the farmers are struggling to now find workers because a lot of their workers were immigrants. So like this trade war and everything that's going on with the economy, it's not going to get better any soon. Just like even when you think about like what's happening politically, like it's really one person trying to control the ecosystem with the higher education. And, you know, I showed you the story what's happening at Harvard, trying to eliminate all of these programs, and Harvard and a lot of these institutions refusing to do it because it starts to step on the free speech that's happening. So when you think about how these countries like Russia and all of these people that controls the media, controls the school system. If you think about even like what happened with Hitler and how he controlled the media, the school systems, the this, the that, and like it's becoming so, you let the genie out the bottle and it's hard to put that genie back in. And it's a lot going on, from the trade wars to the Department of Education, to what we consume and eat.
Are we
from
still
the
in the first year of his presidency? God
Absolutely. It's a lot.
God help me.
It's a lot going on, and it can very much overwhelm a person. So I just say, stay focused, do what you can, keep fighting the good fight, and that's all you can do. But don't stress yourself out, because at the end of the day, but you have to pay attention. You have to stay paying attention. Like, you have to, like...
Is there a travel ban? Because I still want to go to China and go check out this factory. I just know what's in that factory. I just know what I can get in that factory.
So you're going to go to China and just re-up on everything?
My mother does it all the time. She flies to different countries, and like, you know, my mother has this thing with leather overseas. She's always doing that. She'll be like, oh, I bought this stuff. Look at this. And it's like...
And she resells them?
No, she just kind of, maybe. I don't know, but she's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
She's been doing this for years, so.